Well, here we are in November, and you know what that means. An entire month of fan fiction writers telling you about their novels, my legs getting even hairier than usual, and Redditors pretending that not having sex is a lifestyle choice. That's right, I'm going to once again talk about No Nut November, despite the fact that the last time I discussed the NoFap movement, a batshit porn researcher filed DMCAs to get my videos taken down because I showed a picture of her. But what can I say? I'm a nut for no nut. Well, I'm a nut for the weird claims that they make. The first time I talked about NoFap 2 years ago, I pointed out that the nofap.com forum included guys who thought that abstaining from ejaculation meant that they could reabsorb their sperm, which would then turn into stem cells that magically repair their bodies, like Wolverine. That didn't really need a thorough debunking, I didn't think. But this week, someone asked me if it's true that abstaining from ejaculation can improve one's performance in sporting events due to an increase in testosterone. Now, that's an interesting claim. And after hearing about it, I went on to the NoFap subreddit, and I immediately found an example of a guy trying to scientifically test whether or not he could increase his testosterone by not ejaculating. It does seem like this is a pretty common belief, and honestly, I'd rather talk about that than some of the other posts on the NoFap forums, so let's get into it. First of all, let me just state outright that the average man wanting to increase his testosterone is weird. Yeah, you heard me. Weird. Testosterone is just a hormone. Your body has like 50 different hormones, and the only time you want to increase one really is if your doctor points out that it's too low and it's causing you problems. And get ready for this, but sometimes hormone levels are even too high and need to be lowered because more of a hormone isn't always a good thing. There's literally no reason why anyone should be thinking about raising their hormone levels because that hormone is good, so more must be better. Like, no non-diabetic is out there going, hey guys, if I stop masturbating, will my insulin go up? My blood sugar is going to be regulated as fuck. But many men want more testosterone. The most common and somewhat understandable reason is because more testosterone means more faster muscle building, which is why a lot of athletes love this stuff. But overdoing any hormone is going to have its drawbacks. In the case of testosterone, that includes developing voluptuous boobies, shrinking your testicles down to raisins, getting acne, sometimes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, liver damage, and of course, the ever-famous roid rage. So let's talk about the two different claims being made here. First, that abstinence will improve your performance, and then we'll get into whether or not abstinence will elevate your testosterone. So the idea that ejaculation will negatively impact someone's performance in a sport goes back a really long time, like the Greeks, the ancient ones, not the current ones. Around 200 BC, the famed boxer Clitomachus, ironic name, claimed that he owed his success to his abstinence, saying that he would even avert his eyes if he saw two dogs fucking. This idea is actually supported by today's intellectuals who are not known for their athletic prowess and love watching dogs fuck. In the 1st century AD, the Dr. Areteus said, if any man is in possession of semen, he is fierce, courageous, and physically mighty like beasts. Evidence for this is to be found in athletes who practice abstinence. But of course, the ancient Greeks also thought depression happened because your spleen produced too much black bile. So while they did have some really good ideas, they aren't the go-to medical experts here. In modern times, researchers have taken a lot of interest in the question of sex and sports, producing hundreds of studies on the topic. In 2016, a systematic review narrowed them down to just 9 studies that met their inclusion and quality criteria. As you might guess, even the good studies were super messy. Not like that. from a scientific perspective. But in the end, this review concluded that there was no overall negative impact on sports performance for men or women who had sex recently, with the possible exception of those Lotharios who have sex within 2 hours of a competition. That makes sense. I wouldn't have sex 2 hours before I had to catch a plane. Another study in 2018 had 12 healthy men test their muscle strength and endurance after having sex and after abstaining from sex for a while, and they found that there was no difference either way. Pretty damning. But the researchers themselves lament that a more robust study would have relied upon direct observation of sexual activity rather than just self-reports. What a bunch of perverts. So there's simply no compelling data to suggest that abstaining from sex or masturbation improves a man's physical performance, despite an awful lot of research on the topic. But fine, let's say you're a normal man and you've decided more testosterone is just what you need to achieve your life goals. And you've decided that the best way to go about that is to stop ejaculating. First of all, while your decision is deeply weird, I want to congratulate you for going about it in the safest way possible. Whether it works or not, you will most likely be healthier than the guy who just goes online and orders a tub of synthetic testosterone and a needle. I've never bought performance-enhancing drugs before, but I assume testosterone is sold by the tub, which is the most masculine way to consume anything. I'll be honest, I went into this pretty skeptical of the idea that not ejaculating might increase your testosterone. If anything, my hypothesis was that it would do the opposite. Testosterone tends to increase sex drive for both men and women, and from personal experience, I've found that if you go without sex for an extended amount of time, like months, you tend to kind of stop missing it. It's kind of like sugar, The first few days of abstaining from it are rough, but then your body just goes, oh, we aren't getting that anymore. Time to lower the hormones and stuff that make us crave it. And bragging time here, the first study I found on this topic supports that notion. In 2003, researchers tested the testosterone of 14 men over the course of several weeks after they last masturbated. There was another set of 14 men who didn't abstain as a control group. They found that testosterone did increase in the abstainers, but it reached its peak of about 50% above normal after 7 days, at which point dropped back down to normal. While looking for other larger, more recent studies, I found that this kind of research is much needed, thanks in part to fertility concerns. Doctors need to figure out if ejaculating screws with your hormones and your sperm in such a way that testing you too soon or too long after you last ejaculated might give them an incorrect result. Currently, doctors might ask you to abstain for up to 5 days before testing in order to get the most accurate test result. But in 2018, researchers did a meta-analysis that found that shortening of the abstinence period may be beneficial to sperm quality. I know all of this is a bit of an aside to the testosterone issue, but I just really can't stress enough that there's always a trade-off if you're trying to hack your body to produce one particular hormone that you think is good. In this case, that trade-off might be reduced sperm mobility. But yes, it might be true that abstaining from ejaculation might increase your testosterone after 7 days, at which point you might as well go ahead and jerk it because your levels are probably just going to drop again on day 8. But overall, if your focus is on simply being physically healthy, your best bet is to ejaculate whenever you feel like it. I mean, not like on the subway or whatever, but if you want to masturbate or have consensual sex twice a day or daily or weekly or whatever, that's absolutely okay for your hormone levels and your overall physical needs. All of that said, I'm sure the good men of NoFap really do find something good in abstaining. Feeling like you have control over your body and that you're overcoming base or animalistic urges can feel good. I sometimes get that feeling when I don't eat and drink to excess, or when I push myself past what I thought was my limit when I'm surfing or hiking or running. There's a reason why asceticism has caught on in various cultures over the centuries. There's just something we humans love sometimes about denying ourselves pleasure. But of course, there are also people who take that feeling of absolute control over their bodies to a dangerous limit. And they end up turning something that could be healthy into something deeply unhealthy and even deadly sometimes. Tales from middle school aside, I don't think anyone has ever died directly from not ejaculating, so it's not that big of a deal, but as I've said before, it might lead to some problems. A study in 2016 found that men who ejaculated 21 times per month had a lower incidence of prostate cancer than those who ejaculated 4 to 7 times a month. Plus, a good orgasm can reduce psychological issues like anxiety and depression. So, sure, participate in No Nut November if it makes you feel good. But don't be fooled by the idea that it will have any tangible benefits to your physical health. For that, it's just the same old boring advice, eat your vegetables, get some exercise, avoid stress. And I guess in this case, we'll just add, rub one out every now and again.